So, I hear you have a game for me. It's not another farming sim, is it? Your farming sims are brutal. I still get PTSD from playing Agricola. It's not a farming sim. It's about Vikings. Vikings? Vikings are cool. We can sell Vikings. So what do they do, these Vikings of yours? Do they ride out on their dragon boats and go raiding and pillaging and have cool fights with gigantic mythical monsters? No. No. There are no gigantic mythical monsters. But isn't that what all Viking games are about? We can sell tons of that kind of mini. This isn't some trivialized caricature of Nordic mythology. It's an historically accurate depiction of Viking life and society. They're not farmers, are they? Please tell me they're not farmers. They're not just farmers. They're builders, hunters, livestock breeders, traders, artisans, miners, sailors. Warriors? What about warriors? Warriors are cute. Warriors too, but going Viking's only part of the rich tapestry of Nordic life. Instead of thinking of them as raiders, we should think of them as long-distance traders with attitude. Long-distance traders with attitude. Doesn't quite roll off the tongue as well as shield bearers of Odin. Yeah, they're that as well. The game's called A Feast for Odin. Cool. Do they dine in the festivals of Valhalla? Not exactly. So what exactly do they do in this historically accurate game of yours? They gather around the ting. What? They wait for a bell or something? No. I think you would call it the thing. Ooh, the thing! Now we're talking. Vikings versus sci-fi monsters. We can. It's not that sort of thing. It's where the Viking workers gather to decide what to do. So it's a worker placement game. Fine. So what riveting activities do these workers of yours get up to? The workers can choose from a menu of 62 different actions. 62 actions? 64 if you count the repeat another player's action in games with 4 or more players. Oh, the AP! How do you even begin to choose from that many options? You decide on the path you want to follow based on the actions available. Will you be a warrior, a trader, a hunter, even a farmer? The choice is entirely yours. And I suppose each of these actions gathers resources. Though if there's 62 of them, I really do hope that some are more interesting than just resource collection. They are. Though ultimately it does all boil down to resources. Of course it does. It's a worker placement game. Well, take hunting and whaling as an example. If you go hunting, you roll an 8-sided die and you use hunting implements to reduce the score to 0. But if you go whaling, you roll a 12-sided die and you use whaling spears instead. If you score 0, you get the resources on the action. If you fail, you get the workers back to you somewhere else, ensuring that no action you take is entirely wasted. Quite elegant, really. Don't use that word! That's the word you cannot say. What? Elegant? Why not? It's a Scottish play kind of thing. Its hubris provokes the gaming gods. But we're not playing a game about Scotland. Never mind. So how are those mechanics different to, say, raiding? Well, raiding works in a completely different way. Depending on how many workers you send, you roll either an 8-sided die or a 12-sided die, and you add your weapons cards to the result to gain loot equal to the value of the score you've rolled. You see? Completely different. Dear God! And are all of these 62 choices that confusing? Not confusing at all. Livestock breeding is simply a matter of choosing whether to raise sheep or cattle, or both, and picking the optimum time to shear or milk them, while striking a balance between cost and reward. When crafting, you simply exchange one resource to turn it into another. But you have to gain the crafting resources by mining first, which is a matter of choosing between up to 4 different mountain strips at the tactically optimum time. And if you opt to go a Viking, you can choose between 8 different islands to conquer and develop. Though when they come out does depend Okay. Just tell me what these resources are used for. What do you actually do with them in this historically accurate Viking game of yours? You play Tetris. Run that by me again? You play a simplified version of Tetris where you lay resource tiles on your board in order not to lose points. Not to lose points. Precisely. Stop me if I'm wrong here, but this is a Eurogame, right? Yes. And the way you win in a Eurogame is by scoring victory points, right? Yes. But in your game, you don't score victory points? No. And yes. I hardly dare to ask. How does that work? Well, each player has a scoring board which is laid out in a square grid, except it's not entirely square, but that's relevant to this explanation. The grid's populated by gold coins, each of which will lose you a victory point unless it's covered by a resource tile, except, of course, for the row of silver coins running up the centre, which are geld. These coins can be used to pay for resources and to cover the gold victory point coins, which are not geld. You can increase the number of geld you earn each round by covering up the silver coins, but you can only cover them up from the bottom left corner upwards. You can cover the rest of the board in any way you like, except of course the resource spaces, which you can cover, but you can earn extra resources if you surround them rather than covering them. The gold coins on the board can and should be covered, but they will not earn you geld even if you cover them. See? Simple. Are there any other restrictions to laying these tiles? Well, green tiles cannot be laid adjacent to each other, except on houses and feast boards, where you can lay green tiles and blue tiles side by side, but not orange and red tiles. These can only be laid on house and feast boards, not on islands and player boards. There's more than one scoring board? Oh dear God. How many are there? 3. 4 if you count the feast board, but that plays differently to all the other ones. Like it's not complicated enough. So what's so different about the feast board? You play one-dimensional Tetris. It's very different. One-dimensional Tetris? No, don't even go there. Don't even go there. Is there anything else you want to blow my mind with? No, I don't think so. Except, of course, the occupations. You get these by playing actions costing 3 workers, unless, of course, you play the 1 worker action where you only get 1. And you use them by playing an action costing 4 workers, unless, of course, you use the 3, 2, or 1 worker action to use 3, 2, or 1. But doesn't really matter. Anyway, each occupation card may or may not score you victory points and gives you a different benefit based upon the number. Enough! I've heard enough. So let me get this straight. You have this historically accurate Viking sim where the Vikings don't actually act like Vikings, and instead of feasting in Valhalla or fighting cool monsters from Nordic mythology, they choose from a bewildering number of options to gain resource tiles that let them pay Tetris. Many of these 62 or possibly 64 choices involve rolling a different size of dice and counting either up or down depending on which way the wind happens to be blowing at that particular time. Each individual game of Tetris involves a different combo of coloured tiles and can be played in multiple dimensions on different boards. You do all of this not to lose victory points, and the Viking who loses the least points wins. Anything else? I haven't told you about colony ships yet, or resource trading, and the very elegant feasting mechanic. I don't want to know. I just don't want to know. I've got to tell you, Huey, you may be a game design genius, and Agricola may be the most brutal game ever devised by man, but players have moved on since then. They want simple choices and cool minis. They don't want their brains to explode every time they take a turn. I shall take this to a German publisher who understands heavy euros. Yeah, you do that, and good luck finding anybody who can actually cope with that many choices. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, you know what to do. And please do check out our game Pandora Celeste, which we're hoping to crowdfund later this year. Bye bye.